Was good, was good. Welcome here, 51 here with your host Jimmy. Another day in the jungle. Give us a like, subscribe, become part of our community here at goldenboxing.com for more news and stories. And I have a really cool guest here. His name is John. How do you spell your last name? I want to make sure. John
Bahi.
Bahi. There you go. John Bahi. There you go. And he is pretty much the owner of Damon-Bahe gym, right? It's a gym. And where are you guys located? And introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself. Oh shit! Let me see here. I think he got away here. Give me 1 second here. It's coming live. I think he get cut up a little bit. So
I get you back.
yeah, I got you back, man. I
All
got you back.
right, I lost you there for a second.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What is it you do? Tell us a little background about yourself and how you got into boxing and everything else.
My
Your audio is kind of cutting up, so I can't really hear you too well. Um, yeah, I think your audio there, John. I think it kind of cut up a little bit. So yeah, I think it's a little bit cut up. Let me see here. I think he's coming back. I think he's having some problems with his audio, his Wi-Fi here. So we'll see your connection. So let's see if we can get him back. Kagundi de apoyo total, Jimmy. What's up, my man? How's it going? Yes, sir. Okay.
almost there. Close. Yeah,
All
let
right.
me get closer to the Wi-Fi.
Take your time, man. Take your time. Take your time.
Okay.
On that. Yeah, now we better now, I think.
You better now. All righty. Yeah, we're just
Take your time there.
he's had boxing in
Okay.
about 10 different communities throughout the Navajo Nation.
So John,
And
I
when
want
I
you to
became 10
John,
years old,
John, I want you to restart, man, because you were cutting up before. You were cutting up, so we couldn't hear you. But could you just explain everything again because your Wi-Fi was cutting up, so we couldn't hear you what you were saying. So can you repeat that, please? Yeah, just
yes, back in the Damon-Bahe boxing team started way back in 1960s. My late grandfather Lee Damon was a all service boxing champion. He was in the Marine Corps.
okay.
He learned how to box, brought it back, taught my uncles, and my uncles didn't take off to it. Just my dad. My dad took off with the boxing, started teaching in I'd say about 10 different communities throughout the Navajo Nation. Now the Navajo Nation is an Indian reservation located in Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. And he brought it back, started teaching his brothers. Then when I turned the age of 10, he started training me, and that's when I started boxing. I am now 53 years old. I've been in the amateur boxing for over 40 years. I've done
So
every part, I believe, except for doing national tournaments. We hold our own shows. I've done several shows on my own. We're affiliated with USA Boxing, the governing board for Olympic boxing. And I've been the head coach for the past 12 years.
wow.
I took it from my dad. At one point, we lost my sister. My sister used to box Kathleen Bahe years ago, and we lost her in an accident.
Sorry to hear
And
that.
from
Yeah.
there, my dad lost his love for the sport of teaching. Um, I say about a year we didn't do any boxing. He turned his gym into a little gift shop type of deal, and we started. And then of course we had dinners in there and stuff, and we had kids that would come up every time there's a lot of people parked outside that building, asking if we're training again. We refused 3 or 4 times. All of a sudden, we just started training again. And around that point in time, my sons were about the age to start boxing. So my dad started training them with me on the side. I picked it up a little bit more, the training part of coaching. And from I haven't stopped since then. My oldest son is 26, and he started when he was 7. So it's been a good 20 years uh, that I've been groomed and taught how to train and teach kids, not knowing that I changed lives. I
Wow.
give these kids an opportunity to get a lot of their frustrations out. And this is not my words. This is the words that come back to me, later on as they grow up and become adults. They come back and tell me, your dad and yourself having this boxing gym changed my life, saved my life. Because without it, no telling what I would have got into.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah. How
the biggest one to come back.
y-
Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, I just had a question for you, John. When you how is how many of do you accept other tribes outside of Navajo tribes to be part of your boxing gym, or is it exclusively Navajo?
The way that my dad taught me was free. So when I teach for free. I don't have no fees for the gym usage, equipment usage, or nothing. So with that same aspect, I travel to different communities. I go out to Gallup. I've been to Farmington, and we also started one up in Hopi for a couple of years. The Hopi tribe out there. I'm not full Navajo. I am a quarter Eastern Bend Cherokee. That's the tribe I'm enrolled with, and I'm
Okay.
three-quarter Navajo. So whatever community that wants my assistance to help them grow, I will go out and do my best to help them out, regardless of race. It doesn't
That,
matter to me. Anybody who wants to start up a team and wishes to have my assistance, I do my best to give the knowledge I have that I've been blessed with.
yeah. Um, what like how do you get the funding for the gym? Like if you're not charging people, how do you get the funding, man? How are you working out that? Because that's impressive that you can have a gym and not charge people. And how you doing that?
Right now, it's out of our pocket. My wife works.
Oh,
I gave up my electrical career. I used to be in construction. I used to do electrical work. I did that for 10 years. I gave that up to teach the youth in my community. And through donations, and I have a couple of good sponsors out there that donate monthly. I'm a part of their monthly deal that they donate. My stepmother, Judith Bahe, is a former USA boxing official. She provides electricity for the building. She provided the building because that's where the building was built. When my dad passed away, that was passed on to me. So that's the way we have the building, the lighting. She of course takes care of that bill for me, and just whatever donations, whatever little fundraising we can do to travel, that's the way we do it. By the grace of God. That's all I can say. He's blessed this program, and I believe it really does change people's lives and encourage them to have a better lifestyle.
wow. Yeah, that's very impressive. I mean, yeah, man, by the grace of God, man, that's impressive. Um, how do you what's been the most positive changes you've seen with kids, like coming from negative to positive? What's been like your overview of that? Like, what is that effect that it has, like boxing for a lot of these kids, these Navajo kids?
I put it in my perspective of how and why I did it. Back in when I was a kid, you know, I get in fights. I'd end up in trouble in school. Through the boxing program, it helped me release all that anger and all that frustration and all that stress on the bags. So when the kids come into the gym, that's what I try to get across to them. You don't need to do it at school. You bring it here afterwards, and we'll take care of it. We'll get rid of that frustration. We'll get rid of that stress. Not only that, drugs and alcohol. I do my best 100% M drug and alcohol free. I tell the students, let me be your role model in that point. If I can do it, um, no drugs, no alcohol. There's no reason why you can't either. So that's one of the positive things that I try to instill and preach to my kids or show my kids through my lifestyle. Not only tell them not to do it, but show them that it can be done because I am drug and alcohol free.
Yeah, that's impressive, man. That's so cool. That's so cool. And yeah, you're a great role model, man. Just specifically, you teaching them right the right how to move up the right stage, in their life. And do a lot of these kids also? I mean, is it just the drugs and alcohol? Is it also like the gangs and things like that you trying to take them away from as well?
I try to speak to them, talk to them about the aspects of bullying. Um, in my perspective, my way of thinking, if you're confident about yourself, if you're um, in shape, you have some type of discipline in your life, you're not going to become that bully. And through boxing, you have to be disciplined. There's no halfway about it. You have to be disciplined in this sport. It's one of the toughest sports in the world, and conditioning as well. And that's what I try to show them and try to teach them. I also, do my best to discourage the gang violence that's around our community. And it doesn't matter where you're from, the middle of the reservation in a big city. We still have the gang problems. So I
Right,
try to give them another place to be other than the streets, because my program starts at 6 p.m. at night. Now, 6 p.m. in the evening is after their school activities.
right.
They have another place to come to get rid of frustration or the work bag to get another workout in. And that's the main reason why we hold at 6 at night. I don't want to compete with the schools. I want to help the schools, give the students another avenue, another way of you know being in a positive place. That's my opinion of the way it works, and I really believe it's changed some lives. And I've seen kids come in. You can just tell them frustrated, angry, upset, or something when they walk in the gym. When they
Yeah,
leave, they got a smile on their face. You know, Many of the
yeah.
kids do that, and I love to see that. That's payment. That's more than any money. Any money that they could pay me. That's more important. To see them leave happy, and
That's
that's an honor.
yeah, that's wonderful. What like I know that when we talk about you know in America, we got different ethnic groups and whatever, but you don't really hear too much about. I mean, there are mixes though. Don't get me wrong. They are like fighters who do have that Native American mix that people don't know about, but they do have it. But we don't see a lot of people who are like just native people who are just fighting and doing whatnot. Why do you think, like, is that a big thing in the community? Like, do you see a lot of people engaging in boxing as compared with, like, let's say basketball or other sports? How do you see that?
Now
What's the engagement?
on my reservation here, in my community here in Chinle, basketball is the number one sport,
Okay.
and it takes precedence over any other sport.
I think you're cutting up a little bit there, John. You kind of cutting up there a little bit. See, I think John, you cut up there a little bit. I think John, you cut up a little bit, so just wait till he comes out here. Yeah, waiting here. So we're interviewing right now, John Behe, and he's basically, the gym owner of Damon-Bahe Boxing Club, and and he's basically teaching us about Native American, especially Navajo boxing and how everything works in Navajo Nation. So he'll be back in a second. Right now, I'm pretty sure, his his Wi-Fi went off or something. So let's just wait here a second. Let's get this interview rolling. If y'all got any questions, any questions for him, uh, that's we can answer the questions. Anything else, you can just put in the chat box, and we can ask him about it. So let's wait here. Check her out. All right.
Hey, it's crazy. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
I
it's all
couldn't
right,
even
man.
pull up the number.
It's all good. It's all good. All right.
Yeah, this community we have is really big on basketball. Multi-million-dollar stadium holds 6 to 7 thousand spectators. You
Wow.
walk in there, and you don't feel like you're in the reservation. You feel like you're in the city.
Wow. That's so basketball is like the number one sport. And then where will you rank boxing? I mean, do you feel like they're engaged in boxing, let's say, and compare with like MMA or other programs, or how does that work?
Right now that I know of, uh, for sure with USA Boxing, I am the only registered boxing team on the whole Navajo reservation. As far as MMA, I know they have some gyms to say neighboring communities like Tuba City. I know they have an MMA program out there, not boxing. The border of Gallup, Farmington, Flagstaff, they all have MMA programs within their city limits. But the reason why I believe boxing is not big on this community that I live in is I have to travel an hour and a half to get to any other boxing.
Oh,
We have to hours to get to any competing cities.
okay. I see. I see.
You know,
You kind of,
Albuquerque,
yeah.
Phoenix.
I
So
see.
that's a big drawback. Plus, I don't have no tribal backing at all. I get no funding, no sponsorship, hardly anything from the tribal here, the Navajo tribe. And that's one of the reasons why I went into the Eastern Band Cherokee because they give the per capita. That way I can put more money into my program.
Oh, okay. I see. I see. And then,
To add, like I was saying, to add my.
and you said
Oh,
you
what
went to
happened
feed.
here again?
Yeah. You can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah. Can
Yeah,
you hear me
I'm
there?
good.
Yeah, yeah. So you say you go to Phoenix and Albuquerque. Which of the two cities? Which of the two cities has better boxing in your opinion? Albuquerque or Phoenix? Because you go to both.
Phoenix, the Phoenix area has more competition,
Okay.
higher competition, and followed closely by Albuquerque. That's why we travel to two most of the time, Albuquerque and Phoenix. When my daughter was competing, she was a six-time USA Boxing National Champion. We'd have to travel 10 plus hours for her to get a competition. You're looking at
Okay.
California, you're looking at Texas, and we'd have to travel to get there. And she's been to over 25 national tournaments. So she's a very accomplished boxer. She's in the Marines right now, and she's trying to get on the Marine boxing team. That's her goals and aspirations for being part of the Marine Corps.
Wow. So who do you have right now that is like you think who do you have in your gym who you think is going to be a top prospect, female or male? Who do you have that you think is going to be a top prospect in your gym that we should check out?
My second oldest son is about to turn pro. We just have
Okay.
to go to get go to Phoenix and have him become a professional boxer. After that, I have young upcoming boxers, Lamb. Um, he's going to be competing this coming weekend in Pocatello, Idaho, or should I say Fort Hall, Idaho. It's another Indian reservation in Idaho, and we're going to travel 12 hours to get there for him to compete. And he's looking very, very promising. Liam
Okay.
Benali, I believe is his name.
And everybody has a certain style of boxing. Like when they yeah, go ahead. You say something. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. I'm good. I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Everybody has a certain style of boxing that they teach. What is your focus when you're teaching boxing to these kids? Are you more like the defensive kind of trainer? Are you more into like the offense kind of part of it? You kind of in between the two? Like, what's your style?
When I competed, I'm a boxer.
Okay.
I box. I hit without getting hit. That was my
Okay.
style. Now my son followed my style. My daughter followed my style. But I've had a few boxers in the gym who picked up the style of being a brawler, want to stand there and bang with people.
Uh huh.
So we incorporated what their personality, their attitude is going to bring to the table. I try to coach more in that area, and of course, trying to know all the different styles. You do a lot of research, and I do
Right.
watch many videos on how to teach and how to help them out in their own style.
Okay. I see. I see. And what's so I'm gonna give you what's your what was your favorite three boxers growing up?
Sugar Ray Leonard, top
Oh,
best, and then there was Muhammad Ali, and then you have your Oscar De La Hoya. Those are my three top.
okay.
And they
So you
would,
got
if they were to compete today, nobody would touch them. That's my opinion. Old school boxers.
yeah, you got the old school in you. Okay, okay. So you would put Sugar Ray Leonard like number one.
Yes,
Okay,
most definitely. That's the style I used to fight. That's the style I love.
okay. Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah, you a good fighter for sure. You beat Marvin Hagler, man. That was an epic fight. And that was a close fight, but it was epic
Hagler,
too.
Duran,
Yeah.
yeah. Hagler, Duran, that was just amazing the way they competed.
And what would you say about today? Who you think is the boxer that you like because of his style? What boxer do you like of the style today?
Uh, Triple G's got to be up there. Lomachenko's got to be up there. Probably the top two that I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay,
They have
so
a
you got
really great style. There's some upcoming younger pros out there, but those are the two on top of my head.
okay. Those are the two at the top.
Um,
Okay.
what was his name? The Alvarez. I
Oh,
think
Canelo
he's
Alvarez.
toward the end of his career. I think he's toward the end of his career because when he was in his prime, nobody could touch him.
Yeah,
But
he's
he's getting up there in age and he needs to start thinking about coaching. I guess you could say.
okay. Okay. And I want to ask you because in today's boxing scene, it seems like a lot of fighters, a lot of boxers, they're not taking the best fights or the most dangerous fights, but they're kind of having this undefeated records where they're kind of holding off on losing. Do you think that's a problem in the sport? And do you think if you had a boxer and he's like he's really good and then he's being avoided for having a certain style, do you think that's a problem in the sport today of boxing?
Yes, we do. You look at my favorite boxer. He never backed down from anyone. He fought him regardless. Sugar Ray Leonard went up against the best in the world, and he didn't back down. Um, Now you got these boxers nowadays that pick their opponents, and they're not, fighting the top ones. And that's probably the best about the old school boxers. They didn't back down. They fought number one, number two. It didn't matter to them. They wanted to compete against the best, the best. And that's, I think, what's one of the main problems with pro boxers today is they don't compete number one versus number two. They pick a lower seed or, somebody not
Yeah.
ranked that high. Um, in my opinion, it needs to go back to the old school ways. You're the best, you fight the best. And that's my opinion. And that's the way I feel about pro boxing. You need to fight the best, be the best. You can't call yourself the greatest of all time and you're not fighting your top ranked boxers, And
Right.
that's the way I see it.
No, I agree 100%. Um, Also, there seems like there is so a lot of people. I don't know how you feel about this, but some people say, okay, you know what? There's certain boxers that they say that they running the ring, so they're running away and they're just like fighting backwards. Let's say, they're just counter boxers, whatever that they fight backwards. And a lot of people say that these people in today's boxing scene, they're looked as runners or people who are running away from the ring. Do you think that sets a bad precedence for fighters who know how to box? Because it just seems to me like there's some sort of demand where fighters have to be brawlers. But if you're boxing or just you're moving backwards and just throwing the jab and just moving around, then they're like, oh, he's boring or he's a runner. I don't want to see that. I want to see action. How do you feel about it, the whole thing?
I love to see action. I agree with them. I love to see action. But do you want to succeed in a sport? You have to involve both the running, the moving, the footwork. Plus, you also have to have your offense where you're going forward, you're attacking, you're throwing those combinations, but not being dumb to stand there and get hit. You move when you're done.
Right.
That's my style. That's what I like to see. Now, if the boxer continues to run and throws two or three boxes, I agree with everybody else. It's boring.
Hmm.
He's not. He's there for the paycheck. He's there for the money. He's not
Right.
there to put on his boxing show. And part of boxing and being a boxer is have your offense to go out there and throw your combinations and then move. But your combinations got to come first, then you move afterwards, so you don't get hit.
Right.
That's the sport of boxing. That's the sweet science of boxing is to hit and not get hit, not to run and shy away from everything. You know,
Right.
um, that's my opinion.
Right. So in that regard, would you consider a fighter or a boxer like because that's where they're going, like Fleming Wither Jr. or somebody like that? They call him like a runner. Would you call him a runner too for his style of boxing? Because a lot of, let's say, Manny Pacquiao fans used to say that about Fleming Wither Jr. How do you feel about that? Would you consider him to
I
be
would consider him to pick up his offense a little bit more, and then he'd be a great boxer.
right?
Right now, leaning more toward the running part of the his style. But if he would pick up that offense, throw more combinations, and then move, he'd be an awesome boxer. He'd be probably one of my top.
Okay.
But they have to do that offense. They got to get in there and engage at some point and be smart enough to move when they're done, not stand there and have the brawling aspect.
Right. And what would you tell these boxers about just throwing like punches and just hitting each other at will without no defense or anything? What message would you give those sort of boxers who like that sort of style, but they're not moving or hitting, they just want to get hit, and the coaches, they just let it go and say they're like they don't care? What do you think is good for do you think is good for a boxer to just stay there and trade, and the coach not saying something? Because we see that in different countries like Latino countries as well, well they don't say anything. What would be the message for you for that, for coaches who or for the boxers who go through that?
How long do you want to be in boxing? If you don't move your head, don't keep your hands up, you can have a short career. If you keep your hands up, move your head, you can stand there and fight inside with somebody and have the defense of moving your head and hit and not get hit. Your career is going to last a lot longer. If you stand there and take all the punches to your head, you're not going to have a very long career. Be smart. Move your head. Keep your hands up. If you want to brawl, you better do that in order to have a great career and be able to do something afterwards.
Right, right. And have you seen people who suffered the consequences of that style before, in your personal experience, and what the damage was? How do you feel about that?
Not within my personal life. I didn't see that. Like I said, I competed till I was 30 years old. Um, but of course, I always moved, and I wasn't standing there to let somebody beat on me, you know. But
Right.
in my personal life, I haven't seen that, fortunately. But you look at some of the other careers of other boxers, older, old school boxers, you can see them have some of the effects of taking too many punches. And it's very unfortunate, that their coaches didn't try to instill more of a defensive style of fighting. And hopefully, I don't have to deal with any of that type of stuff, later in life. But
Yeah.
um, I'm very blessed and gifted that I don't personally have that, seen that, or been through that with any of my fighters or former boxers or former competitors.
Right. And how do you feel about fans who, because another thing that happens a lot today is that when a fighter loses their undefeated record, it seems like the fans no longer want to be part of that fighter anymore. They just switch sides, or they're looking for another undefeated fighter. Do you think fans of today are the same as they used to be, the old school ones, where they win, draw or lose, you still follow your idol or your boxer? Do you feel the fans today are different than the fans in the old school days, say the '90s or something like that?
The fans have changed. They want the money makers, because they've never done it. Now, a true boxing fan has done some type of boxing before in his life. And that's what pulls him and gets him into the sport of boxing, the love of boxing. Now, if you've never done it, it's very hard to critique somebody that's living it, feeling that dream, and you've never had any part of it. As far as being a boxer, being a coach, being a referee, having some part of that boxing in your lifestyle, especially competing. And a lot of these officials in USA Boxing, judges, that's what they need. They need to have some type of boxing in their life where they trained or they competed in order to understand the full aspect of boxing. And
Right.
that's what some of the fans need to do. They need to understand the training goes into it. And they also have to understand even a boxer, an undefeated boxer, has a bad day. And that's just
Yeah.
part of life.
Um, how do you feel about because do you feel like UFC, the records in UFC should technically be similar to what many of the records are in boxing as far as being undefeated? Because we see a lot of undefeated boxers in boxing. Like, you see a lot of undefeated, but they haven't fought anybody. But at UFC, for example, everybody fights each other, and there's winners and losers. Do you feel like UFC to some extent represents the old school boxing as far as the record, as compared to the undefeated records that we have today in boxing?
Yes, yeah, UFC has brought back some of the old school styles, old school way of thinking. But you get a real boxer, put him up against a UFC fighter, I believe the boxer's going to win.
Right,
And just like Holly Holmes beat Ronda Rousey because she was a boxer,
right,
and
right.
she beat her with boxing before she kicked her in the head. She beat her with the punches,
That's true.
and that's the way I see a lot of it is if you don't have that boxing background, you're not going to be as good as the person that does. And UFC is a great sport. I enjoy watching UFC, and if
Right,
more of them were trained more in boxing, it'd be more entertaining than anything else. That's my opinion.
Okay, I see. I see. All right. And when like, man, I was looking at your logo of your of your boxing club. I love the logo, man. When are you gonna make snap hats or something, man? I collect snap hats and stuff, man. I would buy that hat like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I would just buy it. When are you gonna start
I've
making merch,
I've
man?
sold probably I've sold probably 50 of them. I haven't really got into the hats, but I'll get you one. I'll get
Hey,
one
man.
embroidered up with my logo, my seal on there, and I will get it to you.
Hey, man. I'll wear that. I'll wear that for my lives. You know, I love hats, man, and I love that logo, man. That logo is sick. You got a nice logo there. So
We
that
appreciate that. We
yeah,
appreciate
that
that.
you got some cool stuff over there. As far as and it's we're in the last part of the interview, but um, what would you recommend? Like, actually, this is a question for you. You're helping Navajo tribes, Hopis, you know, anything that's around you, you're trying to help. Or have you met other also native reservations too, where they have a boxing club or a boxing or something boxing that is similar to what you're doing? Have you interacted with other tribes as well, or just you just focus on yours?
I'm a number one fan of Native American boxing. I love to see other Native Americans compete. I love to go to national tournaments and hear this Native American boxing at this time. I will watch it. I encourage it. I will go up to them, win, lose, or draw, and congratulate them level that they're at. Um, I love to go to other Native reservations to compete. That's why we're going up to Fort Hall to go compete with them, their tribes, that area of Native Americans, because you do get more Native Americans when the Native American puts on a show. So we get more draw from our Americans because we're Native American, and I love it. You know, once they come back with all the national tournament, I'm gonna be there one way or another, even if I just have to watch. That's where the love of boxing is for me, to see Native American compete and excel in this sport that I love, that has changed my life.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. You know, I'm all pro Native American boxing too, man. I want to see Native Americans do well. I also feel I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I was looking at a lot of the background because I like to study a lot about history, and I was looking at a lot of the background of the greatest fighters.
It's gone.
Yeah.
My phone died. It's
Oh, okay, okay.
completely dead now.
Take your time there. So this is John B here, and he's basically telling us, you know, about Native American, especially Navajo boxing. So you know, stay tuned. I think he's gonna get his phone. I'll give him like a few minutes, but if not, you know, I'll just close it here. But great interview, great insight. You know, great insight for anybody who likes boxing, especially Native American. You know, these are great interviews, and we're very happy to have him here. You know, in our show here in Golden Area 51 here, where you know we're trying to get always the best interviews, man, and trying to get you guys, you know, the best that we can, you know, here. So very honored to have John Bahi here. Hmm. You guys have any questions or something? You guys have any questions or something? Just you know, put it here, and we'll go through that. See here real quick. All right, we're just actually gonna cut we're gonna cut it off for right now. But it was a pleasure to having John here. I'm sure I'll have him here again. You know, for more info, see how I was going. It was boxing club, whatever. But anyway, thank you for being part of here at goldeneraboxing.com. We try to give you the best interviews when it comes down to boxing. Give us a like, subscribe, and also become part of our community in goldeneraboxing.com for more news and stories. And we'll see you in the next video, man. and you guys enjoy it. Have a good evening. Peace out.